Thanks, Ken. Ken Fawcett. You know, there will be a victory one of these days, we hope. That day will come when the ATF and the FBI agents responsible for killing the people out here are put on trial. That's when the victory will come. A few minutes ago, just before Ken came up, I talked a little bit about one of the gentlemen of the Branch Davidians that was inside the complex when it caught fire and burned to the ground. His name is David Thibodeau. Young man, very articulate. He and I tried to meet each other a number of times after he was released from custody. One time he came up to New Mexico to meet me, and I was down here in Waco to meet him. We missed each other by about 2 days. But David Thibodeau is here, and he's got insight into what happened at Mount Carmel inside, up until and including the fire. Right now I'd like to introduce David Thibodeau. David?
I want to start out by playing a song that I wrote during the period of time that we were building the pool area out here. And I finished it during the siege. And it was a song that I'm dedicating to Greg Summers, who was one of the people that died there at Mount Carmel in the fire. And I'm dedicating this to Greg because I sat in his room once. He was the first person I ever played it for. And he was very moved by it. He totally related to the experience of the song. It was like Mount Carmel to me was about an experience that people toward the end of time need to go through for themselves. And that's what Mount Carmel was all about for me, as I said, was an experience. And I hope you like this. I call this the Spirit Song. Yeah, as he said, remember I'm a drummer, so give me a break up here, all right? Boy, I'm throwing this one together quickly. This is for Greg. Mind is the soul, just look in the eye. Can you see your spirit trapped inside, wanting to fly away from your pain? Life goes on, but it's you's not the same. All that you desire, what you think you need, you really desire, and the rock that you are looking to is purified. The heart seems to grow cold, and now sink into the mire. Lift me higher, make me free. Self-aware, separated from the ones who care. You seem to lose a part of you that was never there. How many times do you have to feel lost inside when you know what you feel within is only a lie? Holding on to dreams manifests as sad realities when you're living your life in solitude. Nobody sees. Open the door, sail across the shore, see what love can be. The voice forever call me. Thibodeau, sail across the shore, see what love can be. A voice forever calling me, calling me. It's not easy to play without a Strat, so forgive me for screwing up there. I wanted to play that because I think of Greg, and I think of the people that were there. Steve, Dave, Wayne, the list could go on and on. Isaiah, Joseph, some of the children, Serenity, Michelle. And I think about how together these people were and how they shared a common goal, they shared a common sight, and they were all here to study things. They were all here to study the 7 seals. There were literally people from all over the world that came to Mount Carmel to study. It wasn't just Americans. We weren't white separatists, as a lot of people, I've actually heard that. There were people from England, there were people from Australia, there were people of every race, every nation represented at Mount Carmel. When I first came here for Passover in 91, I remember being blown away with the information that was given over a 2-week period at Passover. And I remember being blown away that hundreds and hundreds of people, I think it was around 300 people during this period, my first time, had come everywhere to study. And I talked to Livingston Fagan, I talked to John McBean, who died in the blaze. I talked to these different people who had gone to theological seminaries. They were teachers, they were preachers. Livingston had his own ministry. He was a philosopher. These people were not ignorant. They were not stupid. Stephen Schneider taught comparative religions at the University of Hawaii. They all told me the same. They all told me one thing. About 7 different people told me on different occasions that they learned more from David Koresh about the Bible than they learned their 4 and sometimes 5, 6 years of studying the book and paying thousands of dollars to go to these schools. They were literally blown away with the amount of information that they had received at Mount Carmel. A lot of people would say David Koresh was guilty of mind control. Well, these people, it's true, they did have 10-hour Bible studies, 12-hour Bible studies, but these were during the Passover seasons and the atonement seasons. And literally people would come for the specific reason to study the Bible for 10 hours a day. And then they would go back to their countries for months at a time. Now that's not the sign of a person who wants to totally have mind control over each and every individual. They don't send you away if you've read anything about destructive cults. So I think a lot in the press has been thoroughly unfair. We noticed early on that the one thing that the press kept demonizing David and the people inside for was child abuse. Child abuse is not a federal issue. Child abuse should never, ever become a federal issue. It's a state issue. Therefore, when the ATF come in and when they botch their raid and then sit up there and say that these kids were abused, we had to do this for the children, they use that to turn your all's attention away from the facts, away from their own encroachments and their own abuses that they were opposing on a people, that they were opposing against the Constitution. And it worked. When the fire started, what did Janet Reno say? I had irrefutable evidence that the children were being beaten. Janet Reno knows this to be a lie. She said that. 2 days later, a reporter asked her to back up her evidence of this new evidence of the kids being beaten. She couldn't do it. She went to the FBI. There was no new evidence. The evidence was from 1987, which was the initial reports from Mark Breaux. In 92, the state authorities came out here to Mount Carmel. They checked the kids. They checked the young girls for sexual abuse. They checked the children for mental and physical abuse. They found no signs. They dropped the case. Why do I still hear about it? Why are my questions, well, your kids were abused, that I get whenever I speak? These are some of the main questions. They weren't abused. They were the most beautiful kids I ever had the honor to know. They loved each other. They helped each other. Yes, they were disciplined.